And I'm kind of, as I get it set in the right spot, I kind of take my tweezers and push it into the fondant a little bit, just so it sets in a little bit and it's not just held on by the little piece of, the little dab of royal that you've got in there. I'm kind of pushing it into my fondant. So I'll go ahead and keep adding these, and then we'll start on our bottom tier. All right, so we've got our top tier done. We've worked on our middle tier. Now we're going to work on our big bottom tier. We're going to be using a stencil and we're going to airbrush it. Now what I've done is I've taken this stretchy first aid tape, and I've taken a little bit of the first aid, this stuff that sticks, and I've taken it and I've run the tape through my stencil and attached this little flexi bit to it. And then I did it on the other side. I made it so it wasn't quite as big as the cake because I want to put it around the cake and I want it to stretch and hold. So I'm very gently going to place this on here, slide it down, and then my tape is going to hold my stencil in place, and it's not going to dent. It's such soft tape that it shouldn't dent your fondant. But if I had it too loose, it wouldn't hold this snug. So you want to make sure it's somewhat tight, but not so tight that it's going to indent your fondant. This is also good to do after your fondant has had a chance to harden a little bit. You know, if you want to do this, cover your cake in fondant, let it sit for a couple of hours so it isn't quite so soft. So we've got the stencil on here. Now we're going to do a quick airbrush. And what I've got now is I've got the same black that we used before. I'm going to add just a touch of the shimmer to it and a little more vodka so we have enough to cover the whole cake. You want to mix enough color at one time. If you're mixing things like the black and the sheen, you want to make sure you mix enough to cover your entire cake, because you don't want to go back and try to recreate the mixture because you're never going to get it exactly right. So I've got my airbrush. I'm just going to give this a nice light coating on where my stencil is. So it's going to give that little nice shape. And again, since I'm doing black on black, it's not going to be too bright. It's going to be pretty subtle. So I'm just going to do far away because I don't want to give it enough air that it's going to get under the stencil and pop the stencil up. So I'm just going to do really light coating like this. And we're covering it. Got to get in there. See how the stencil's not moving, but I'm doing a nice coating. So that should be plenty. Now I want to take my stencil off without smearing it. So I'm going to let it sit on there for a minute because I do want it to just let the paint dry a little bit. You don't want to take it off right away because your paint's going to be kind of soft and ready to smear. And when it's ready to take off, what we're going to do is we're going to snip this. We're going to take a pair of scissors and we're going to cut this so that it lets go. Because if we try to pull it off, we're going to smear. And so let me grab a pair of scissors here. And I'm just going to take it and I'm going to hold it because I don't want it to snap unless I'm controlling it. So I'm going to snip it between my fingers so that it's not going to move until I'm ready to move it. I don't want to just snip it and then let it go. So I've got it released and now I want to make sure I just pull it straight off. And you can see it's subtle, but you can see the texture we have in there of the template. So we're going to let this dry and then we're going to line up our template, put new pieces of tape on it, and airbrush the rest.